Hello everyone and welcome to Looking Back at Yokai Watch. This video in particular has taken a very, very long time to make, so I would very much appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And, maybe leave a comment seeing how I can improve, because I do read them. And now without further ado, enjoy the video. If you are a long-time viewer of my channel, you are probably well aware of the video game series Yokai Watch. It is my favourite game series, and it's the first game I actually ever owned, so it holds a special place in my heart. So whenever it's tossed aside, dismissed as just another Pokemon clone, I get a bit annoyed, or perhaps the word would be saddened, as these claims perpetuate Yokai Watch's comparatively minuscule popularity. But that's the thing, it's not just another Pokemon clone. And to understand that, you need to understand Yokai Watch, and why I love it so much. And to do that, you need to come with me to that fateful day, July 11th, 2013. So allow me to tell you the story of a completely average boy living in a completely average town. This video's idea has actually been done before, specifically by Chrominize, who is doing admittedly a better retrospective, link in the description. Because he covered so much of it, some parts of my video may overlap, and I apologise in advance if it does, as my intent was never to copy or plagiarise anyone's work. Admittedly, we do need to go a little bit further back, to a 2011 Level 5 Vision conference where a mostly animated trailer was released, featuring unfinished designs of some of the yokai, including a much more ominous looking Dismeralda and a Jibanyan that I don't even want to look at. Some designs were still similar. Whisper looks the same as always, albeit with a different voice actor, I think. Along with that, there was some pretty good looking gameplay, which ended up being much more 3D than the finished game. Despite these clips being, well, unfinished. It may not have been too much information back then, but it looked like at the time that the Yokai Watch train was finally about to leave the station. Yeah, so it kind of went dead quiet for a period of, as far as I could find, a year. There was about a year of silence on the game, and after that it resurfaced in October 2012 in that month's edition of Famitsu, a Japanese magazine. In that magazine it was revealed that the game would be on the Nintendo 3DS rather than the PS3, which most people thought it would be played on. The information we got was made up of screenshots showing the world, the battle system, and the characters. Funnily enough, Korokoro also had some screenshots about Yokai Watch on its October 2012 edition. These screenshots come from the cutting room floor, so yeah, I'll link in the description. In December of that year, the first volume of the Yokai Watch manga made its way from pen to paper and was released. I've even got some volumes. I forgot to mention, Yokai Watch is a multimedia franchise, spanning multiple movies, a manga, which was only discontinued in April of last year? It went on that long? Sorry, as I was saying, it also had an anime, which was a massive success, and you guessed it, the main attraction, and the main subject of today's video, the video games. Yokai Watch would continue to appear in advertisement until that fateful day, July 11th, 2013, where it finally released. In Japan, that is. We wouldn't be getting it anytime soon. But hey, for a unheard of project, it sold pretty well. In about a year, it sold over 1 million copies. In 2014, the Yokai Watch anime came out, and as I said before, it was not unpopular to say the least. Unfortunately, we had to wait until 2015 to receive Yokai Watch 1 in North America, which I am not from, by the way. I actually don't know when Australia got Yokai Watch 1, but I'm going to assume it's the same time as Europe did, which was 2016, which was, 3 years after the release. Could have been better, but hey, it's better than nothing. Look, I'll admit, the advertisement for Yokai Watch in the West has never been great. That's one of the reasons it fell off eventually in Western audiences, because it just wasn't being pushed well enough. We did get some absolutely glorious advertisements, by the way, which was, probably one of the reasons Yokai Watch 1 did well enough to warrant releasing the sequels in the West. Now that we've reached the point that the game itself is out, let's, talk about the game. Yokai Watch 1 is a great first game to get the series into the ring, having a much more episodic plot than the future games, a unique combat system, charming characters, and so much more. So what are we waiting for? Let's dive into it. By the way, if you want the full experience, check out the full Yokai Watch series on my channel. One way Yokai Watch differs from other JRPGs is its battle system, which I personally love, while some people, IGN, call it soulless. In Yokai Watch, while battles still operate in turns, you don't control what your yokai do, at least entirely. They have 5 sets of things that they can do in any given turn. Use a physical attack, a technique, which is essentially this game's magic attacks, guard, to take less damage, inspirit an ally with a buff or an enemy with a debuff, and loaf, where they do nothing for a turn. The chances of each action relies on a yokai's attitude, which can be changed with books that you can find in the game. For example, a twisted attitude will use a negative inspirit more often than a rough attitude will. Each yokai has a unique ultimate move, called the Ultimate, and its charge builds throughout the battle, and is unleashed by playing a short, kind of fun little minigame. Ultimates can do damage, inspirit, and heal. Yokai are categorized into 8 tribes, and having 2 or more of the same tribe next to each other grants a buff dependent on the tribe. Charming buffs speed. Tough buffs defense. Heartful buffs the effect of healing techniques. Brave buffs strength. Mysterious buffs the magic stat. Shady buffs the accuracy of inspirits, while eerie buffs the effect of inspirits. And slippery makes it less likely for enemy inspirits to hit you. Yokai also have attributes, which determine the type of magic that their technique uses. And attributes kind of work like Pokemon typing. I don't like comparing the 2 games, but it is a comparison that works. And on screen is the matchup chart that I made. If your yokai is ever debuffed, or inspirited as the game calls it, you can cure them by playing a similar minigame to that of Ultimates. You can use items to heal your party, or use them on enemies to increase their chance of becoming your friends, and finally, you can use the pin to target specific yokai. This is extremely useful in boss fights, as most bosses have pinnable, Zelda-style weak points. Oh boy. I'm done with that. Now, let's get on to the story. This goes without saying, but story spoilers ahead. While there are technically 2 protagonist options in Yokai Watch, we'll be referring to Nate as the protagonist, not only for continuity's sake, but also because he's the main protagonist of the anime and manga. In Yokai Watch, you control Nate Adams, the most average boy you'll ever meet, who lives in the most average town you'll ever see, Springdale. After making a claim about bug catching that he just simply can't follow through with, he rushes to hunt for some bugs. But all he can seem to catch are boring cicadas. So, he heads up the local mountain, Mount Wildwood, until he stumbles upon a gashapon machine under an enormous tree, which speaks to him. No, literally, take a look.
Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me right now.
Where's that coming from?
Overtaken by curiosity, he puts a coin in the slot and turns the crank. And out pops Whisper. He's a self-proclaimed yokai butler and gives Nate the Yokai Watch. Before the 2 of them find one of the concerning amount of depression yokai there are. Seriously, Hino, are you okay? Called Boohoo, and we see that one of the cicada that Nate's caught becomes a yokai, and we get a tutorial fight before Nate heads on home, only to find that the yokai Dismeralda has begun living there and needs to be shown the door with force. So Nate goes off to find Jibanyan, helping him out and becoming his friend, and Jibanyan helps Nate out in turn. From that point on, the story is mostly episodic, with the occasional plot beat, but the story really takes off in the game's penultimate chapter, where we learn of a plot by an evil yokai called Chairman Chairman McCracken's plan to take over both the human and yokai realm. So Nate gathers his friends, travels to the yokai world, beats his first stage, which then runs away to the human realm, where Nate must follow him back through the portal to the human realm and beat him, finishing this fight for good. Unfortunately, because the portal between the human and yokai world is too dangerous to keep open, Whisper needs to make the hard decision to seal it up, and Nate must say farewell to his yokai friends as the cherry blossoms bloom on a new day in Springdale. Until the end credit scenes shows up and we see that, hey, you can't keep these friends apart. They're reunited and everyone lives happily ever after. For now, that is. With the main story done, there's still a lot more left to Yokai Watch. Let's get into it, shall we? Even though Yokai Watch 1 has the smallest map in the series, it's still more than enough to be fun. You play the entirety of the game, except for a few short moments, inside of the town Springdale, which can be separated into 6 areas. Mount Wildwood, the town's local mountain where you find the Yokai Watch, Crank the Crankakai, and, you can find a cool dungeon thing if you know where to look. Uptown Springdale, the place that Nate lives and goes to school. It's a cute little part of town with a bakery, a florist, and a lot of character. Downtown Springdale, the more industrial and business-heavy district where you can catch a train. I mean, it doesn't do as much as in Yokai Watch 2, but it's still cute. Blossom Heights, the quiet side of town where a lot of people live, and where the watch shop is, where you can upgrade your watch from E to eventually S rank in the postgame. Shoppers Row, a place with a lot of shops. And Breezy Hills, the more upper class side of town, with a cool museum and a trophy hall that we'll discuss later on. But with the visuals taken care of, I think it's time we discussed the second half of what makes this world beautiful. The music. I certainly don't think that it's a controversial take to say that the music in Yokai Watch unironically slaps. The way it brings you from the highest highs to the lowest lows. Like, picture this, will ya? You are up against a world-ending threat, and the deck is stacked against you. But you know that, deep down inside, there is hope. That's how the final battle theme of Yokai Watch 1's story goes. It brings you back to where it all started, with a rendition of, if I am correct, the game's title screen music. It's really nice. Plus, the way the music just fits the ambiances of all the areas so well is just amazing. And I'll give you the examples of the 6 main areas I talked about in the last part. it is just stellar, but in addition to the music and the world itself, there is also the... Despite Yokai Watch 1's additional content being some of the smallest in the series, it's still got quite a lot to keep you entertained. With 223 unique yokai ranked E through S to collect, including 5 legendary S-rank yokai, which require 8 specific other yokai to be collected, you know, there's a lot to do in just that. There are also 21 bosses to be fought. You know what, before I continue, I should probably address the elephant in the room. The recolors. Yokai Watch has always had recolors of yokai as rarer counterparts, but I don't mind them because they play differently from their base colors, with a few exceptions of course, but it just hasn't really irked me that much. Maybe it annoys you and that's fine, but it is a part of the game that does exist. Now, let's continue. With regards to some of those yokai, not all of them can just be caught or befriended, as it is in this game. Some yokai evolve from level up, and some from fusion in the Shoten Temple in Blossom Lakes, and some just don't. While we're still on the topic of collection, there are around 30 of each bugs and fish to be caught in this game, and 52 yo criminals, which are special recolors of yokai to fight and interrogate to add trophies to that trophy room in Breezy Hills I was talking about earlier. There are 20 repeatable favors and 111 quests to be completed, including a post-game story where you journey into the Infinite Inferno, a cool endgame dungeon, and defeat dark recolors of the bosses of the game, making your way to the final boss of the game, Wobblewog, and be prepared for quite the fight. Another cool thing this game has to offer is Terror Time. It's kind of a punishment for doing bad things, like leaving the house at night. I have, for some reason, really bad memories about it. It's almost like, for some reason, the idea of an Oni chasing me down as a child scared me. Anyway, you can collect cool stuff in there, but be warned, don't let Gargoros catch you. You can also use the yokai cam to take pictures of your face and to see if you're inspirited by yokai, and get daily rewards for completing challenges. While this game is the most solo interactive of any Yokai Watch game, having no trading and local-only battles, you can still interact with friends, be it in those local battles, or through this game's Street Pass integration, the Wayfarer Manor, where you can fight and befriend copies of the teams of the people you Street Pass with, and Pandanoko, the rarest yokai of them all, and a yokai that definitely won't annoy me as I continue this series. And I think that's it for the additional content. You know, now that we've reached the end of this video, I've been able to look back at Yokai Watch 1 properly this time and think, wow, why didn't I spend more time playing this before I got into Yokai Watch 2? I looked back on this game originally before making this video and thinking to myself, there just wasn't enough to keep me interested. When in all reality it was probably just, I was a bit more easily distractible when I was originally playing these games. Yokai Watch 2, 3, 4, and all the other games will have a lot more to keep us entertained, but let it be said that Yokai Watch 1 never left us with too little. And reaching the end of this video, I hope we all can look back at Yokai Watch and think to ourselves, what a wonderful place to start. I will be continuing this series. I do like making these videos, even though this one has taken me a very long time to make, because it allows me to sit back and really admire my favorite game series. But until then, I've been Oscar Ox Games, this has been looking back at Yokai Watch, and until next time, Oscar Ox out. Bye-bye!